great. It is fabulous to love your work. To be so blessed as to just want to go up there and just do your thing. But reality is this: we have to get paid. I mean, we do. We have to get paid. So I have some questions of y'all.
You're gonna take this one.
And I'm going to my cards because, again, we're talking about money now, so I have to take it real serious.
Yes.
Who am I going to first? I kind of want to go to LaFawn, but she knows the answers. I'm going to start.
I'm like, what the answer, Sway? You
I know.
got the answer, Sway?
I'm starting with Danielle.
Oh,
I knew it.
You're
I
my
knew it.
namesake. You know you're going to be my... Come on now.
Okay.
How do you deal with transparency or the like thereof when it comes to salaries in your industry?
How do I deal with transparency when it comes to salaries in this industry? I find my people. I find my tribe. That's really people that I can trust. You know, I ask questions of those who have come before me, whether that's in a TV show or like Yvette Nicole Brown or Retta, people who have done what I've done, you know, when I was on Orange is the New Black, reaching out to them and saying, like, how was it for you? Like, just trying to navigate that. But I also find people that I know are like, they don't play no games when it comes to they pockets, they papers.
Yes.
My friends, and we talk. I don't know if we're supposed to talk, but we talk. you know, and we are honest with each other. But it's only people that I know, because you can't. I do feel there is a thing. You can't trust everybody with that information.
No.
You know, so I found my circle, and we are very honest with each other about what the possibilities are, what he made or she made on this, and we are honest about it, and it's helped me for sure, because I found that because you don't know you're doing it, but you can lowball yourself. You know what I'm saying?
But
and not
again,
even
you know I like people to repeat things. What did you say? You can what?
You can lowball yourself
Yes.
at times, you know, and so I think it is so good to have conversations about it, but also be an honest on where you are in your career.
That's it.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
Don't be thinking that you deserve a 7-figure salary and it's your first show. Like, come on,
Right.
sis. Unless you, I don't know. I don't know. It's true.
But my question is there is such a taboo around it. I think that, you know, it's hard just to go up to somebody and say, Skai, how much did you get for that film? And if I'm new to the game as a director, a showrunner, an actor, I could say to myself, like, actually, let's take it personal. Ooh, I just got a gig to be on a show. And it reminds me of Molly's gig on Insecure. I met her at a panel discussion. So I'm just gonna call her up and ask her how much money that she made. Like, it's hard because I wouldn't know who else to ask. I mean, in real life, yes, we have agents and all these kinds of things, right? But I just mean, how hard is it to find your tribe?
I think when you are even broaching the topic of money, you know, our entertainment industry is one of those things where it's like, you know, we say all things being equal. All things are not equal, you know, unless it's favored nations, and then that's when it's equal. But like, all things aren't equal because you have to take into account the full gamut of stuff, right? So I'm at a place in my life where I'm like, I've had some good strides, but I also know I'm like, yeah, but if it's between me and that person, yeah, that person gonna get paid more. Like, it only makes sense. And I think you have to have a good understanding of like what people are looking at, and when they're trying to figure out what the financials for you. Now, you can get to a place where you're like, all right, listen, man, I've done enough gigs at this rate. I'm not going to do any more. And you know what? And if it means stopping to take gigs at this rate until I get the rate that I want, then that's what I'll do. Or we've set precedent now. Now I know not only can I deliver, I also know what it takes to do this job. And so at this amount, I'm gonna be upset.
That's
and if I'm
right.
upset, everybody gonna be mad.
Yeah.
And so it's not y'all not gonna want to work with me. I'm not gonna work with
That's
you.
right.
So
The
let's
thing is,
find
it's true,
somebody else
though.
who will be happy with this number.
Yes.
You know, so it's
because
like
that resentment is
It's
that is a
real.
real thing.
Yeah.
It is a real thing. It's a real thing if you're a Hollywood star. It's a real thing if you're a elementary school teacher. It's a real thing if you're a dental hygienist. It's a real thing. But I'm still wondering, I'm looking at Skai. I'm still wondering, like, how do you know? How do you deal with transparency? Like you said, you started out at 9 months. How were your parents dealing with it?
I mean, it was just my mom, so it was things that she had to learn. She didn't know everything at first, but that just takes time. But when it comes to like getting paid and getting money, I know my worth, so I know, I'm not just gonna take anything just because of a low amount. Or I do have those conversations with friends that are in the industry. I just think transparency is the best way to go about it. And then of course you have your team, you have people who can advise you, but it can be hard. It's really tough, and having those conversations can be tough too, because you don't know how to approach it sometimes.
And sometimes it is scary too, because sometimes your team can think highly of you in a way you're like, is that where we at now? It's like,
Yeah.
don't let this go away now. Like, and it's just like, well, we got to test the waters. And it's like, all right, well, let's test it. But also understand that I'm okay here because I, in my, whatever it is, like, I'm still proving myself. So you kind of have to be very self-aware. And then you also have to be like, listen, I know they said it's a 2-hour commitment. By the time I get on the plane, by the time hair and makeup comes, by the time we get in the car, it's now an 18-hour day. It's not a 2-hour commitment. So it's not gonna work.
First of all, can we just all agree to this? It's never a 2-hour commitment.
No.
It's never a 2-hour commitment. It's never a 2-hour
Like,
commitment.
what?
Lena, I'm curious what you think, because you have folks, working for you, creating for you, trying to live up to your vision of what you think should be going on in Hollywood. And I'm wondering, like, how are you dealing with the transparency issue?
Well, a big thing for us is we always try to be competitive. We always try to find out what are folks paying over here? What are they paying over there? And like, do we want to match that? Do we want to pay a little bit more? Just to make sure folks go, yeah, they're paying a competitive, wage, and they're willing to pay you what you're worth.
That's a good word.
Yeah,
It's competitive.
It's important.
Wage.
It's important because if we really want someone at the company, how far are we willing to go to make sure we say, hey, we really want you at our table. This is what we're willing to give, And if we have a limit, we always are aware, like, okay, this is where it's at. But I've always been super transparent. I called an actress, a friend of mine. I wanted her for this film, and I was hearing about her quote and how much the studio was willing to pay. And I called her and I said, look, I don't want to disrespect what your quote is. This is as high as we can go. I said, if that doesn't work for you, no harm, no foul. If it does, let's get it done. She's like, got it. Called her agent and we got it done. But that was because we had a relationship where I could call and just keep it a buck. And even like for myself, when it comes to me, I'm aware that what the things that I've done have made companies money. I know that Queen and Slim has made Universal money. I know that The Chi has made Showtime money. You know?
You said what's the first film you said?
Queen and Slim has made Universal money.
A favorite.
So I'm gonna say, like, the next thing is like, for that next movie, I was able to be in a space of, like, hey, this is what can happen if I've done the thing and people come see it. So that way, it sort of gave me a sense of, oh, if my name on it or me bringing this brings a sort of commerce to it, then I need to make sure I'm being compensated as well.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm super curious. Like, I know as actors, we talk to each other, but do like creators, producers, do y'all talk to each other about like?
I feel personally not enough.
Or you have to manage
I feel like
yourself.
not enough. I think our teams are sort of like talking to each other, and I think that just sort of comes down to the community and things like that. And I definitely think, I'll be honest, I think we as Black creators and content creators, we're friendly and you guys see us, seeing each other, but we could probably be making who knows what if we talk to each other more and just sat at a table and were like, yo, what's going on? What's this? But the truth is that we actually sat down and gathered, which I get it, we don't have that time because we're all siloed or whatever. But the truth is we still inherited that from our 90s predecessors of, okay, what's my thing and how am I doing it? So that's that connect. I was at Yvonne's apartment back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Danielle, having a sister circle before you were about to go off and do that. Like I know before,
I don't even
Master
know
of
if
None.
people understand how all these relations.
It's
There's
crazy.
a whole other conversation to be had.
There's a whole other conversation to be had.
How relationships affect the workplace. Absolutely.
And that's why we are comfortable to call and talk and stuff like that, because it's bigger than the business, you know what I'm saying, at that point. But I do think, like, we could definitely afford to talk to each other more. We never even had really a conversation about it. You know, it's just more about, okay, this is what we're doing over here, this is what we're doing over here. So for me, I try to be as transparent as possible, but the biggest thing for me is I want to be fair, and I want to make sure if somebody's working, they getting paid what their worth is.
Yes.
And
so let me, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's also beyond just like pay, because it's also like, what are the perks? You know what I mean? Because that's a big thing too. It's like, there's a number, but then it's like, hey, are they giving you this as well? Like, what's your trailer size? You know, or what does the flight situation look like? Your hotel, and it's like all stuff. Like when I came in, I was like,
all that stuff is important.
All that stuff is important too. But you said something, Lena, that was interesting, because you said competitive wage, and I'm interested, like, the difference between like competitive wage and industry standard.
It's about like getting on, and I'll just like yo, we on the Zoom, my accountant, my CEO, them will like say, what is the thing? What is the standard? What's happening? Because sometimes they may be bringing the number to you that they say, oh, they paying this, but they only let you work 10 hours a week. Here, this is going to be it's a full time, so then you still may end up making the same, but you know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's about that as well. So I'm just talking about, let's break it down brass tacks. Like, how much do you need to survive? How much you need to go, but also not just that. If you want to go have dinner with a friend, if you want to go to do this, if you want to go on vacation, like, let's figure out what the number is that you actually need to hit. And let's figure
really
out how much hours I need and what I need. Because I think the biggest thing for me is, like, let's make sure you get what you need out of it and I get what I need out of it. Because if one of us is not getting what we need, then one of us is going to be resentful.
Yes.
So I think that sometimes you can boil it down to that and really just ask. And if that person says, this is the number I need to hit to do all these things that I need to do, you can say yay or nay. Is it a question if they can't find it elsewhere, then it's like, okay, then maybe your industry standard is different. So that's what you do have to ask around, say, what are you paying your assistant? What are you paying this person? What are you paying it? And you'll kind of find like, oh, snap, it's gone up. And sometimes you just got to eat it and go, yeah, the price has gone up for assistants now.
Yeah.
I got to eat that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Especially because those assistants are Black women, then that's the whole thing too. It's like you want to have the, people that work, they are Black women. Those are my assistants. Yeah. But it's like, I also got to make sure I can't be short no Black woman though, too.
For sure.
At the same time.
Yeah.
So it's tricky, and we're in that transitional space, because like when I was an assistant, it wasn't even a conversation.
Yeah.
I was just happy to be
They were like, this is it.
Happy to
really wasn't.
Happy to have a Gina job.
You
know what I'm saying?
Decades go by.
And also, but they all like, Mara got me the job for Gina, Gina got me the job for Ava.
Yeah, because I think too,
that's the thing. It's like, I
think the difference is for us, it was not just a job.
No,
it was like
the beginning.
Career stepping stones.
Yeah.
It was making the right moves for where we wanted to be. And I think now, some people are just like, it's a job. And that's okay. Because sometimes
and in fairness,
that's
okay.
what it is. Listen, it's a job, and until the next thing comes, this is where I need to be.
And that's the big thing. I can't hire somebody where being my assistant is just a job. It's like, I want you to be learning, to be growing, so that way when you, it's so crazy, when I went to this thing last night with Princess Penny, I brought my former assistant with me, who is now staffed on the show Good Trouble. So I get to say, like, yeah, she used to be my assistant, now she's staffed on this thing. And everybody was like, oh, snap, because we still cool. We have dinner. Just how I have that relationship still with my bosses, I have that relationship with her as well. It's that thing. So for me, it's like, I don't want to just be a job, I want it to be the beginning of something. Beginning of your career, and hopefully the beginning of a really good relationship that we can carry on, that I still benefit from our relationships with my former bosses. It helps me, so I call on them if I need something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
LaFawn,
I'm so proud of Lena, though. I have to say.
I mean, we all are, right?
This one married, and I can look good.
King, queen, whatever you want to call it, putting people on. And she does it, and I feel like it's genuine. It's not so that you can say, I did it. I think I know that's your heart. And it's to see her from the beginning, before anyone knew who we were, to see her character is still intact. I love you.
No, you all love you.
I think there's a lot of mutual.
I'm proud of you.
I think there's a lot of mutual love in this room right now. And before we close out, I really wanted to ask LaFawn, just to close out the money part of things.
Yes, please.
Speaking, let's say, to the...
You don't know the answer.
Speaking to, let's just say, the folks that are the PAs, the folks that are the assistants, the folks that are just getting started as makeup artists, the folks that are trying to start their YouTube channel. What is the piece of advice about money that Indeed can say?
Yeah, so there's two sides of it. Everyone has been talking about relationships and talking much more about money. We do not talk about it because it's taboo, but it's not illegal.
Hey,
We should be talking about money. I have an incredible mentor who's like, this is how much I make per board seat. This is how much I'm doing here. This is how much I'm doing there. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I can understand what's happening, but there's an intersectional layer there. Right? Just because you know what somebody else is getting paid doesn't mean that you're going to get paid that. There's a lot of different layers for that. But we do need to just talk about it more. We need to just make it normal, right? That's the only way that we can even the playing field and really understand what's happening. On the other side is the industry or the employer side, and that is having salary transparency. And what most job seekers don't understand is when a recruiter asks you how much your last job paid you, never answer that question. You always say, this is what I
do it. No, it's the last time I'm
happened?
going to do it.
What did I do?
I need you to repeat that.
Okay.
When a recruiter asks you.
When a recruiter asks you what you made in your last job, you never answer that question. You always say, what I expect in this job is X. Because it's not about what you got paid in your last job, it's what you're worth in this job. But as a job seeker, you have to be empowered to say, this is what my worth is. This is what my worth is in this position. And if we don't have the networks, because a lot of us that are underrepresented in whatever industries, we don't have the same networks, right? And so that's why these relationships are so important, because we have to create these networks for ourselves when companies aren't transparent, when other coworkers might not be transparent. I'm sure you all have been up against roles where maybe there's a white woman who's getting paid more, right? And not because she's more talented or not because she has more longevity, but because there's that difference, right? And people from other marginalized communities can say the same. Whatever their identities are, I'm sure there's been a little bit of difference between what they've gotten paid and what the majority has gotten paid. And so it's really important that we keep the conversation going and that transparency is on both sides, on the industry side, but also on our side.
Thank you so much. Listen, Skai, Yvonne, Danielle, LaFawn, Lena. I feel so lucky to have spent this time with you today. Each of you are just amazing in your own incredible ways. The beauty is too much to even try to quantify at this moment. And I just thank you all. I do, for being so, honestly, for being so generous with your spirit is what really mattered here today. I think everybody just gave of themselves. There's a whole world out there of people that wish to be in the seats. And so for you all to share so generously your spirit, your knowledge, it just means the world. It really does mean the world. So thank you again. And please visit Indeed.com/Rising Voices to learn more about this whole initiative. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.